Ah, the sizzle of McDonald's sausage. It's enough to make you crave your favorite breakfasts. Enough to head over to McDonald's. Enough to make you really wish this commercial were scratch and sniff.
And if you're a sausage person, now get 2 satisfyingly savory sausage McGriddles, sausage biscuits, or sausage burritos for just $3.33. Or mix and match. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace. We are now less than a month away from this year's Cheltenham Festival, and joining us today is Andre Klein, the Assistant General Manager of Cheltenham Racecourse, in this special year for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Andre has been on the road and much more with the famous Cheltenham Gold Cup trophy. Hello, Andre. Welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion for our first Cheltenham Festival podcast of 2024.
How are you, Stephen?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a special year for the Cheltenham Gold Cup, Andre.
It is. Look, I mean, it's the centenary year, so it's a really fantastic opportunity for us to do an awful lot of things to promote the great history of this race, and hopefully attract a fair few new fans to the sport we all love.
Well, we're going to find out more about all the things you've been doing promoting the race as you sit there with Dawn Run and Arkle's colours in the background.
Yeah, look, I mean, one of the best things has been, gathering together an eclectic group of bits and pieces that have got some historical link to the Gold Cup, and a lot of those will be on display over the 4 days of the festival. But the two behind me, particular favourites, your listeners will know full well that's Dawn Run in the red and Arkle on the left, and those are on loan to us from Leopardstown Racecourse. But we've seen John Joe in the ones in the red recently. He just about squeezed in, but they're amongst many other kind of bits and pieces we've got on display.
How important then is 2024 to the racecourse and to its history? Well,
I mean, I think it's an opportunity to celebrate the race, as I mentioned before. I mean, no one would doubt the relevance of the Gold Cup or the Cheltenham Gold Cup in the racing calendar, and it's important to the fans of the sport and to the horsemen that participate in the sport. And it's I think we're utilising the opportunity to, as I meant, there's lots of different things we're doing, but we are using the opportunity to kind of to reward the fans, the existing racing fans, by giving them an opportunity to get alongside the Gold Cup and have photographs taken with it to completely immerse themselves in refreshing themselves the history of the sport, but also to try and attract new fans as well. So, which it's a really big important opportunity for the racecourse.
And how did you get the job of taking the cup on the road?
I just think no one else wanted to do it. Probably. I think anybody who knows me, Stephen, knows that I give 110% everything that I do. I'm a die-hard racing fan. I have been since I was a small kid. If someone had asked me when I was 10 years old what I wanted to be doing, I would have answered, do you know something? I'd love to be working at Cheltenham Racecourse, helping to promote the Gold Cup. It's always been something I wanted to do. And I was working as the general... Well, I've worked in racing most of my life, mostly overseas in Australia and New Zealand, but I've been back as GM at Warwick for 5 years, and then got drafted across into the Cheltenham team. And I think the second it dawned on me that the Gold Cup centenary was just around the corner, I popped into Ian's office and said, look, I've got a bundle of ideas in regards to that. And he just said, that's fine, you just crack on, essentially. So it's interesting. I know that it is my dream job, and I feel massively privileged and honoured to be doing it. But there's only a handful of us that have got that kind of level of passion that can make it happen, really. So I'm very fortunate in that sense.
It must all come back from living next door to Richard Pittman, as we said off air.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I mentioned before, I grew up spent my life between Lambourne and Ashbury, which is a village just outside Lambourne, major racing centre. My dad had a pub there called the Rose and Crown, which was massively popular, and it was frequented by all sorts of racing people in its heyday, likes of Jenny Pittman and what have you, and Charlie Nelson was a name that a lot of old racing people remember. But we living next to the pub was Richard Pittman. So Richard was, clearly it was fantastic to be living in amongst all those racing legends. And I think Richard used to babysit me on the odd occasion when the pub was busy. And likes of Stan Mellor was another person that was in the village. Stan and Elaine Elaine's still a very good friend. So I mean, it was just a brilliant place to be. And if you absolutely properly immersed in the sport in a kind of different way to, being brought up around horses, I was just around the stars as they were having a great time, normally celebrating their wins or commiserating their losses in my dad's pub. Always stories to be heard and to get inspired by.
And this is the original cup. I read it was in a bank vault until 2018.
2018, yeah. Do you know something? That is an incredible story. And as we tour with the cup, everybody's intrigued by that. They have this vision of like a, cash in the attic kind of thing. And basically it's a simple story, really. The original cup was won by a horse called Red Splash in 1924. It was owned by Colonel Humphrey Wyndham, and I don't know how many hands the cup went through before someone called the racecourse in 2018 and said, look, we've got the original cup. Would you guys be interested in taking it back? It came back to us in look, from what I've been told, in a rather battered state. The Inkermans, the jewellers, renovated it back to its original plans. And originally it was designed in Cheltenham, but it was forged, if that's the right word, in Birmingham by a company called Blenkinsea in the jewellery quarter there. So this is the original cup that goes on tour with us from 1924. So as racing fans will know, the Gold Cup's had lots of different shapes and sizes over the years. There was the famous Rose Bowl that was the cup that was used by the Tote. Different sponsors have created different trophies as well. In fact, to tell you what, Stu, we've got all 5 of Golden Miller's as one trophies on display over the 4 days of the festival, and all 4 of them are different. So, sorry, 5 of them, five on display, and all 5 are different. And we've just decided with this trophy, it's so special, it's got such heritage that we'll retain it as a perpetual trophy. And the winning owners will get a copy of this. Since it came back, we had a copy to take away with them. So I think the Native River team were the first to get the kind of this version of the cup.
So is it very heavy, the original cup?
Well, not really. I think the base is quite heavy. It is detachable from the base, thankfully, because we took it on a tour over the summer up to the highest peaks. 3 of the highest peaks in the British Isles, and up to the top of Arkle. So we went up Carrountoohill, Snowdon, Scarfell Pike, and up to the top of Arkle. It was a fundraiser for racing welfare. I was very grateful that we could detach it, and I could make some young buck carry the base, and I could take the trophy up and take all the glory. But it was quite funny. One of our colleagues, as well as a friend of mine, Jane Headley, who's based at Leopardstown Racecourse, made the suggestion we take the Irish Gold Cup with us too. Anyway, I looked at that and I said, nah, there's no way that's coming with us. And we had them alongside each other at Paddy Power on Thursday for this preview event for the Dublin Racing Festival. It really was like a husband and wife. The Paddy Power Irish Gold Cup is big trophy, lovely heritage. It's got some fantastic, racehorses have won that over the years. But it looked like the husband had had a bit too much Guinness sitting alongside our very dainty and attractive Cheltenham Gold Cup.
You mentioned there that the 4 peaks in, was it 4 days, 6 days?
Yeah, I did four peaks in 4 days. So, and look, I'm always up for these kind of mad challenges. Over the years, I ran around every race course in Ireland with Lance O'Sullivan, a group of racing people. was 56 race courses in 4 days, and we did all the Irish race courses a couple of years ago for racing welfare, for charity, and then always come up with the next one and thought, well, look, we'll take the Gold Cup up these hills, and we'll take some Gold Cup heroes with us. So Barry Geraghty came up with us in Ireland. We had Graham McCourt in Wales. Richard Johnson joined us up Scarfell Pike, but we struggled to find anyone available to come up Arkle with us. And interestingly, in the search for someone who is suitable, we inadvertently discovered there's been no Scottish jockey, trainer, or owner who's won the Gold Cup. A point that wasn't lost on Linda Russell recently, when we took the cup up to visit Corac Rambler and Ahoy Senior. So we ended up going up bizarrely. We took a Grand National winning jockey up the top of Arkle with us. Marcus Armitage happened to be up there on a fishing holiday, and he said he'd come up with us. So it was a bit bizarre end, but I think he enjoyed the walk, and it was the only time he's never got close to the Gold Cup trophy, so he had a chance to hold it up there then.
When you went up Arkle, I read you were close to Foynehaven as well. You
are, yes. I mean, interestingly, Arkle, it's a beautiful hill, and it sits on the land that belongs to the Westminster estate. Of course, Duchess of Westminster owned Arkle, but she, of course, owned Foynehaven as well. So you stand on this huge precipice, stare at it. It's a solid straight drop, looking across the really imposing Foynehaven, standing right next door to you, just behind you. And it's a typical Chris Pitt fact. Was Ben Stack, and what race was it? Ben Stack. There was a racehorse called Ben Stack who was lost on me. It's again a lovely hill, but I'd have to double check. But it certainly won a Cheltenham Grade 1 at some stage. I can't remember whether it was it might have been the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It won. It's a horse called Ben Stack that won a big race anyway at the Cheltenham. So all these three mountains right next door to each other have all given names to Grade 1 winning racehorses or Group 1 winning racehorses.
You were raising money also for racing welfare.
Yeah, that was for racing welfare. That particular challenge. Yeah, I mean, it was the first kind of orchestrated publicity we did for the year, and I think it was a great way to start the centenary celebrations, because clearly it was across the whole country, and it garnered quite a lot of local media. And also raise some funds, and it was, well, on a personal level, it was also a lot of fun. So it's a nice challenge to achieve, and I was in good company the whole way. With some colleagues from the Jockey Club, some members from supporters of racing welfare came and joined us, and plenty of others along the way too. So it was a really, really good trip.
So the easy bit over, you then went to schools, care homes, race courses.
Well, I tell you what we did. What we decided that in our madness, this is one of the original ideas we had, that we would do a 100-day countdown to the running of the Gold Cup. Now, the initial plan was there'd be some form of Gold Cup activation on each of those days, and we've virtually achieved that. In fairness, that everyone's assumed that it's a 100-day tour, but it isn't quite a 100-day tour. It's 100 days of Gold Cup activity, which has incorporated a fair amount of touring. So we were determined to get to kind of, again, all corners of the country to give, you can't get everywhere. But so, we're down in Devon, at Bideford and at Exeter, for example, and there's a community event down there where they're celebrating the Gold Cup, and then we'll be up at the Ida Chase in Newcastle. We did a trip to Albert Bartlett, to Airdrie, to go and see their staff, and then we'll be down in London to Close Brothers, another festival partner, and what have you. So we've covered all corners, but in between that there's race courses. So we've been present on a lot of race courses to give the racing fan an opportunity to come and have a photograph. And we're talking, I'd imagine, when we're talking now with, still 35 days to go, I think, to the Gold Cup, but it would have been close to 20,000 people would have had their photograph taken with the Gold Cup, which is great, really, because they all jump on social media and they're on their social media and say, this is what I was up to today. Here's a picture of me with the Gold Cup, which is great publicity. But not just racing. We've been into care homes, there's schools, there's Major events, so London International Horse Show. It's Gallagher Rugby Preview events, Gallagher International Rugby Preview events. There's Holland and Cooper events. There's been to Weatherby's. It's been to Dublin Racing Festival. Just about to head up to Hexham with it, where we're going to spend some time with the BBC and the oldest living jockey to have won a Gold Cup, a guy called Stan Hayhurst, who rode the mare Kirsten, still going strong, over 90 years old. So it's just getting, it really is just a matter of getting it out and about. And I'm even going to France, actually, just due to go to France so we can, of course, the French have had quite a strong connection. They've probably had a stronger connection with the Gold Cup than the Scots, to be fair. But if so, we'll go and see the likes of Emmanuel Cléo, who's bred Gold Cup winners, and put the Gold Cup in front of French racegoers. We're heading to Pau actually, because it's one of the Crystal Cup events. So it's a whole heap of bits and pieces. Cotswold pub tours, that's about to take on as well. So we're trying to do 15 pubs in one day. So the bar staff can all have a photograph, or the kitchen staff can all have a photograph with the Gold Cup. It's in and out of lots of the hotels in town in Cheltenham. Yeah, as you can see, Stephen, it's a busy old time. Photographs with the mayor and all the councillors as well. So yeah, lots and lots of things. And it's just we're determined to absolutely get the best and most we can out of this of the run up to the 100th running of the Gold Cup. It's a brilliant opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to do this.
Well, you've certainly been about. What's the reaction been from the general public?
It never ceases to surprise me. I'm fortunate as myself and a really good, hardworking colleague, Lucy, who got dragged into the Gold Cup tour alongside me. So she's I've got to offer her some credit because she's covered probably more or as many miles as I have. But when you come across a racing fan, their first, and this is really really obvious in Leopardstown, or when we're at Chepstow for the Welsh National, it's a sense of disbelief, and then it's a sign they can't. Is that the real Gold Cup? I mean, I said, yeah, that's the real Gold Cup. Nah, yes, it is. I said, you tell them the story is 9-carat gold plating, 18-carat gold. Yes, this is the one that Rachel Blackmore, kissed. It's the, they absolutely love it. And if I have got one regret, we've got lots of photographs of the tour, of course we have, and lots of photographs of people with the Gold Cup. But I wish we'd had a way of recording people's favourite Gold Cup memory, because you just hear them all the time, and some of them are absolutely fascinating. It's normally linked to a big win, or it's normally linked to I know someone who owned this and we were there on that day. But in fact, my favourite one was an Irish guy who lost his green beret, and he asked whether he was having a moan about our lost property at Cheltenham, saying someone told him it was in our lost property, and he went to look and it wasn't there. And I said, well, look, if you do throw your hat in the air, and you lose it in the crowd, don't expect to find it. There's 70,000 people on course, so good luck. But yeah, I think going back to your original question, yeah, for most people, it's a real treat and a real honour to be alongside the Gold Cup. And there's as I said, there's been so many photographs taken with it. And for those that aren't familiar with it, it's also interesting as well, because you get that, I've never been to the races and I've only ever heard of the Grand National. And it's an opportunity then to tell them a little bit about the race. And even though they might not convert them into fans, you're converting them into people that have an affinity with the Gold Cup. So come March, they might hear it on the news, or they might see it in a newspaper or see a story online. They go, do you know what? I have my photograph taken with that. And I think that's what it's about. You never know. A few of them might decide to go along and watch it, or they might decide to watch it on ITV, or at least have a bet or something. If you always get, and that's just my style, but if you get someone who doesn't know anything, I'm always turning around to give them a tip. So this year, I try to say, look, just make sure you back Gallop into Champs, for example. He won it last year, he'll win it again. Same horse, you won't forget, he won it last year, he'll win it again this year. Whether he does or doesn't, we don't know. But it means that they might come March, have a look and at least watch the race, and that's what it's about.
So a fabulous advert for Cheltenham Racecourse and for racing.
For racing, I think that's the whole thing. Like absolutely, it's important for Cheltenham Racecourse, and it's and for the festival. But for me, it's more than that. It's a celebration of it's an opportunity to promote horse racing. Full stop. And I've always had that belief that if you come across, it works with me. If I meet anybody who's massively enthusiastic and genuinely authentic in their love for something, it doesn't matter what it is. If you enjoyed cooking Thai food, Stephen, and you were going on about all the different ingredients and you were showing so much enthusiasm for it, there's no question I'd be intrigued. And I think that's the that level of enthusiasm is what we need. A lot of people hear negative things about horse racing, but I can tell you there are millions of people out there that absolutely love it or are prepared to love it. And it's this year for me is an opportunity. I feel massively privileged to be out there promoting the sport and promoting a race that I have, a massive affection for.
Well, we're recording here on the 7th of February. I'll check the calendar there.
Yeah.
You're going to be sad to see the Cup go, aren't you?
Well, I don't know really. I don't know if I will. It's going to be. I tell you one thing for sure, and I keep telling myself this. Right, it's a unique year in my career in racing, and I've been around it my whole life and worked in racing, and I've had been involved with some incredible events. But I think I've just got to accept this is going to be hard to match, and I'm glad I realised that early enough in the year to think, make sure you enjoy absolutely every moment and give it absolutely everything you've got. And Ian Renton called me into his office only a couple of days ago and said, "Oh, you're looking a bit tired, and are you okay? I know you haven't got a day off till Gold Cup day." And I said, "Look, I'm old enough and wise enough and enthusiastic enough, and I know how to get the adrenaline up to keep me going through the finish line. Native river style. So it was. I'll be fine, but I do know that it's come the Saturday following the festival. I think I'll collapse in a heap, to be honest. And then on the Monday, I get my fishing rod out."
Well, you are also leading the Gold Cup 100 Community Fund. What does that involve?
Yes, that's a good. I was determined actually to make sure that the celebration of the Gold Cup leaves a legacy, and a legacy behind it. That's so I'm not just talking about a great book or whatever, but and a great celebration, a great party. But I think what I wanted to do is maybe leave a legacy in the local community. So there's roughly 250,000 people huddle along to the festival. Clearly, it has a great economic impact on the area. But I don't want to use the word necessary. It probably has inconvenience is the reality for an awful lot of people who live and work around the racecourse. So my goal really was just to make sure that we can give something back to the local community through the celebration of a race that the people in the community should be massively proud of. They should be hugely proud to have the Gold Cup, the greatest steeplechase on earth, race on their doorstep, probably one of the greatest racecourses on their doorstep. And this is just to build a link and bridge between the racecourse and the local community. So it's not a charity; it's a community fund. So all the fundraising this year, there's lots of different things that we're doing. In the same way we did for Wellchild a couple of the last 3 years, all the fundraising activity will be geared towards securing a pot of money that can be distributed back to the local community in conjunction with the local Rotary Club and through the provision of small grants for good causes. So we've already accumulated, significant amount of money. I think we've paid out 6 grants to date, to the tune of 2,500, and they are for small projects at schools or for hospitals or local charities that are operating within the vicinity of the racecourse. So, and it's been massively well received, obviously by the charities themselves, but also by the people living in and around the racecourse have noticed that we're running this fund, and I think it's great to give it to a big charity like a big charity, but it's so rewarding to see this the money that we're raising going back into real stuff that's really close to the racecourse, and so we can really visualize. We know it's going to make a big difference to a lot of people's lives. So
good to see racing then giving things back to local community, not just connected with racing as well.
Oh, 100%. Cheltenham Racecourse is you know, and I know it's an international pilgrimage for racing fans. But we are a big business, and we're a big, you know, a big set of buildings, a big infrastructure sitting, you know, on the outskirts of a town where lots of people live, and we should be properly integrated into the community in lots of different ways. And I think this is just, and it hasn't necessarily always been the objective of the racecourse. I think the racecourse has always played a major role, but this is just a different, you know, it's a unique way of doing it. And it's nice to partner with the Rotary Club as well. They've got their fingers in everything charitable around the racecourse, so they've been a great assistance in us pulling this together. And it might look, I know it's just for this 1 year, but it wouldn't surprise me if we consider doing something similar going forward, perhaps around the whole of the Jockey Club, not just here at Cheltenham. So it's almost like a test case of what can be achieved at other Jockey Club racecourses. And to date, it's been really, really well received. To the extent we've had partners donating money. Virgin Bet gave us a significant sum towards it. There's lots of others that have just said, "Oh, look, we'll donate." Holland Cooper did their preview event. They said, "No, part proceeds from that went to the Gold Cup Community Fund." So I think I think a lot of our partners have been really, really, and supporters and members have been really keen and eager to get in behind it. Some of the initiatives we've done ourselves. We've created a fantastic set of, you know, commemorative playing cards, and these, I think we're nearly on 2,000 packs of these sold, with the proceeds from those going to the charity. And they've kind of got all the Gold Cup winners on. The other one is it's a really nice piece. We've approached a number of equestrian and local artists and said, "Would you donate a piece of work that kind of captures the essence of Gold Cup Day?" And you know, we had to say enough is enough, really, because I think we could have ended up with too many pieces of work. But they will be auctioned off over the 4 days of the festival, with all proceeds going to the community fund. We're running a trial restaurant here on the Monday, which local businesses are attending. One of our, you know, prestige restaurants on course, and you know, a lot of local businesses are attending that, paying a fee that will go directly to the community fund. There's just so many different bucket collections, community fund. There's so many different things going on. So we will end up raising a decent pot of money that can be given back to good causes. But it's the willingness of everyone to participate, which has been massively pleasing, to be fair.
Because at Cheltenham Racecourse, you have your own on-course artists as well.
We do, yeah. Emily Johnson. So there's another mad idea of mine, but she's absolutely brilliant. And in fairness, we sold a piece of her work last year for charity over the 4 days of the festival, and that kind of spawned the idea for the larger auction we're going to run this year. I mean, that raised her piece of work last year raised £4,500. So yeah, she's obviously providing a piece of work for the auction as well. But she's a great asset, actually, because the Christmas cards we produced. She just said to Emily, "I'm happy to do something nice for the Cheltenham Christmas cards," and she painted this lovely snowy scene across the track. So I don't know how many other race courses have got an artist in residence, but it's a really nice thing for racegoers to come along and see her at work on a race day. And she's a great personality, actually.
Yes, Emily's been a previous guest on the Paddock and the Pavilion, and I think her auction painting is of Corto Star and Denman, I think.
It is, and I take great pleasure in walking up to her and say, "I'm so pleased you've chosen to do L'escargot and Desert Orchid." You know, she normally ends in a slap, to be honest, Stephen, probably much deserved.
And festival week on Monday, March the 11th, you got some work lined up with Racing to School.
Yeah, that's another community-focused idea, really, to build, and it's another mad hat one of mine, which is not all that popular with a lot of my colleagues in the operations team. But as we changed what was previously known as Serene Monday into Festival Monday. So we bring around 100 in partnership with Racing to School and Racing Together, and actually, in fairness, in partnership with a number of other Jockey Club racecourses, so the likes of the team from Wexeter, Warwick and Wincanton come up to help. We welcome 150 school kids from 5 neighbouring schools. They walk to the track. They're greeted by either like a Tom Scudamore or an Ollie Bell or someone like that, and then we get dressed up in silks and split into groups to rotate around 6 racing, educational, fun activities. And then it's actually, we tried it last year for the first time. It was really successful, massively rewarding for everybody involved. And hopefully those 150 children at primary school age go away having had a great day out of the classroom, and they've met some of the superstars of our sport, including horses. I think we're hoping an absolute tidal we here this year for them, and Smad Place, another Cheltenham favourite, and a couple of ponies from the RDA. So that's one of the activities involves live horses, and it's interesting. Willie Mullins always parades his horses at the end of the, after lunch, and the kids. That's the kind of the crescendo really for the kids' afternoon to watch Willie's horses parade, and then they all head home, thoroughly tired, but probably not as tired as those that are showing them around.
You're going to be popular at the close on Monday, then?
Oh, look, it's my. I think I warm the festival up. Everybody's got key areas of responsibility. So in mine, I have the preview night on Sunday sits with me. So then I have the Festival Monday event, So and then of course the Love Our Turf campaign is something which is our community care campaign for the 4 days of the festival, as in toilets on the street and stewards on the street along the main arterial routes, kind of acting as wayfinders to the racecourse. But it's almost like come the Raw on Tuesday, the Supreme. My festival almost feels like it's over. And it definitely isn't, but it feels like it is. So I say to it, it's like I get a massive head start on the adrenaline stakes. They have to wait until Tuesday, whereas I have to kick on Sunday night from the preview onwards. But I'm blessed with a brilliant team of people to make it all happen. So and then again, I feel massively privileged and fortunate to have the job I've got and do what I do. You've
also got a parade of legends organised?
Yeah, I was at Parade of Legends. Probably we're doing. It's not for the Parade of Legends on the Festival Monday. Now we are hoping to reenact a photograph from 1974, when they got together all the jockeys that had won a Gold Cup, and we're having a Legends lunch after the Festival Monday activities. I invited all the living jockeys, owners, and trainers to come along. And by the looks of it, the vast majority of them are going to make it. So it will be a Legends lunch rather than a Legends parade. But I think we'll have to parade them out of the racecourse probably about 4:00 because it's free drink for them. So, but we'll get the photograph early. I think we'll get the photograph early. And what we'd like to is that, in fairness, I think we'll try. We won't reenact the picture that was taken at I think it might have been the Ritz in 1974. We'll probably mix all these jockeys in with the school kids and try and create a special moment. Really,
this is the photo that was in Chris Pitt's fabulous new book.
It is absolutely. It's that photograph. So it's. I think it's interesting. I think I can't remember where we sourced that picture, but we've gone out searching for Gold Cup memorabilia, especially you go back to some of the older people, the older generations that we've had it come to us from a number of different people, actually, different sources. But it's a great photograph. It really is. I'm actually going to take a copy of it up to see to Stan Hayhurst, who features in the picture this week. Stan being the oldest living winning jockey of the Gold Cup, 1958 Kirsten. So Burley Bewick was the trainer. So I don't know. I would imagine Stan's got a copy, but he may not have. But he will have by Friday.
Now you've given us your tip for the winner in 2024. Well, I think you have.
Yeah, maybe.
What's your own favourite memory of the Cheltenham Gold Cup?
Well, I've not missed a Gold Cup since 1989, and I lived overseas for racing for 20 odd years. So that meant my pilgrimage was back to the festival every year. But the reason the only way I could afford to get over to Australia, whereas where I was working, was to back a winner, and that winner was Master Oates, and I had him in a double with Alderbrook, and it had I can't remember, it was actually someone who worked in a pub had turned, one of my dad's pubs had said, "Oh, look, Kim Bailey's got this really nice horse called Alderbrook." And it was prior to it winning the Kingwell Hurdle at Wincanton, so it's a £10 double, which is a big bet for me now, even, let alone then. But I can't remember. I don't remember. We got some tips from being a waiter or whatever, so I put it on this double, just the dream bet. £10 Alderbrook in the 33s into Master Oates, I think was 7-2 at the time, and that paid for my ticket to go off to Australia. So on a personal level, and I love telling Kim Bailey this, and I had great pleasure telling Norman Williamson this as well recently, that result was a life changer for me. So it was without doubt my favourite Gold Cup memory, without a doubt.
So the two of them paid for your
trip,
your
to
holiday.
Australia.
Yeah.
Well, so my holiday lasted 20 years. I wasn't able to live off for 20 years, but I went over to Australia and stayed there working in horse racing, and then it was 5 years in Australia, and then it was quite 20 years. It would have been 16 years, I think, or 17 years. The rest of the time, the balance in New Zealand. So, I mean, I really, clearly he's not regarded as one of the great Gold Cup winners. I thought he certainly was one of the great Welsh Grand National winners. But I think if you talk about the best ones I've witnessed, I still remember it like it was yesterday, watching Long Run Denman and Corto Star come over the fence together. I just knew that was a special moment. And it's when you saw that, as a young lad, I was really excited to see the fellow finally win. I don't know why I love that horse, but he's a bit of a forgotten hero, because he got beaten a short head, or something like a short head, very close, very small margins on 2 occasions before finally winning. So that was only the year, I think he won the year before Master Oates, if I remember right. It was 94. So, yeah, I mean, but every Gold Cup's got, is special. And the only other one that's really probably worth referencing that was properly of note, my first Gold Cup working as part of the Cheltenham team was the one that was run behind closed doors. So Minella Indo won it with Jack Kennedy, but my job for the festival that year was to manage Zone X. If you remember back to coronavirus times, Zone X was the area outside of the control of the race of the sports venue where the public could gather to watch the sport. We had particular problems at Warwick. We were basically behind closed doors, and people just line they just lined the car park watching the racing. So, but the festival, there was a real fear that was going to happen, at a real significant level. So my job was to roam the perimeter fence to stop crowds gathering, which was a unique job. I got 40-odd thousand steps in the day, but it did mean I could watch every race from wherever I wanted to, which I'll never be able to do again. So as a unique experience, the Minella Indo win in 2021. Was it? Yeah, 2021. Yeah, that was pretty special as well.
We've had so many Irish winners in the last few years.
We have, yeah. We'll get this. Look, I think my gut feeling, Stephen, is that having just come back from Ireland, I don't think the Irish contingent this year is as strong as it has been in previous years, and I think there'll be a fair few English winners. Whether we've got one good enough to win the Gold Cup, I don't know. But there's a few decent horses. The dream result, the absolute dream result for the Gold Cup would be Coring Rambler. There you go. For the racing man, if he turns up and runs, to have a Scottish winner, first horse ever to win a Grand National, then go on to win a Gold Cup. That's for someone who loves the sport and from a heritage value, and loves those quirky stories. In 100 years' time, whoever's got my job will be referencing that achievement. So more than anything else in the race. So that's the dream result.
First Scottish winner.
The first Scottish winner, yeah. And the first to win a Grand National and then go on. I mean, there's been Golden Miller, as you know, is the only horse to have won a Gold Cup and a Grand National in the same year. And that's, for me, is why I rate him in my own little head greater than Arkle. The fact that Arkle only beat 11 horses in the Gold Cup, so it's 3 efforts. And of course, Lescargo won Gold Cup twice, and then in 1975 went on to win the Grand National. So Lescargo is an underestimated horse as well, in my opinion. But there's been the first to win a Grand National, then come back and to win a Gold Cup. And I tell you, if there's a horse that loves Cheltenham, it's Correct Rambler. He's won 2 Ultimas. He may well go to the Ultima rather than the Gold Cup. I don't know at this stage, but I'd be chancing my arm in the Gold Cup if I owned him, which I don't. And I'm not me to ever own anything near that good.
I guess you've got a day off today, taking the Cup anywhere, but you're going to be busy again from tomorrow onwards.
Yeah, tomorrow, and this is, we've got, I'm up to JCB tomorrow. It's the Bamford, which of course they're great sponsors of the Triumph Hurdle, have been, great racing people there. We're taking the Gold Cup up to visit their factory's probably the wrong, their property just outside Uttoxeter, and the staff there will all get a chance to give a photograph with it. And that's rather typical of a kind of partner's visit. We did the same at Albert Bartlett, we did the same at Close Brothers. There's others that were Aston Martin, the festival sponsor. We'll be going doing something similar with them, and others. But it's from there up to Hexham, and then down the road. And then we were Close Brothers. There's something, and then it's Exeter, Bideford. So it's a busy week. Yeah, busy. We're in the heat of it right now. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on the Paddock and the Pavilion, and good luck for the rest of the tour commemorating 100 years of the Cheltenham Gold Cup.
Yeah, cheers, Steve. Thank you for the opportunity, and as I say, thank you for being a racing fan and doing your bit as well, because it's these people like us to keep this sport cracking along.
Sports Social Podcast Network.